to the comic shop. I'll let you read about Cyclops. I'll have you spending all you got. Ravage's looking hot. Dixon.
Self high five. No, it's not DDP, it's Big Legit back here to talk about amazing comic books that do what? That move the needle, because the comic book industry is in need of some help. It's in need of some resuscitation. We got to pound on the chest. Pound on the chest. Come on, you son of a bitch. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And if we don't do it, who's going to? If we don't save comic books, who will? And that's what it's all about. I don't care if you're watching my videos. I don't care if you're watching videos by that umbrella guy. I don't care if you're watching videos from Yellow Flash. I don't care if you're watching videos from Diversity in Comics or Ethan Van Sciver at Comic Artist Pro Secrets. All of those are right here on YouTube. All of those men are doing what they can to save the comic book industry for kids in the new generation, specifically for young men who do not have enough role models to look up to, and that's what comic books are for. So, how do I move the needle? Well, let me tell you, I move the needle by talking about comic books from the past. Comic books from when I was a kid that made everybody stand up and pay attention. So if you have a comic book that you bought this week at your local comic book shop and you feel that that comic book told you a great story and it had fantastic art, I want you to take a picture of it and I want you to put it online with hashtag move the needle so that every comic book company out there knows what the fans are looking for today. And I have a feeling, I have a very strong feeling that what the fans are looking for today is the same thing they were looking for when I was a kid. And that's totally awesome stories with beautiful art like this gem here. Cyberforce Origins, Cyblade. That's right, we're going to continue with Marc Silvestri Appreciation Week right here on Testosterone Overload by talking about Cyberforce Origins, Cyblade. Now there are 3 of these comics. There was number 1, number 2, number 3. Number 1, obviously Cyblade. Number 2 is Stryker. Number 3 is Impact, which I'm really excited to go track down because I actually like Impact. I thought he was a pretty cool character, a lot like Bedrock. Oh, no, excuse me, Badrock from Youngblood. Kind of like the teenager trapped in a giant body. I think that's really cool. Kind of a takeoff on the Incredible Hulk, but rather than being a full-grown man trying to control his emotions so he doesn't turn into a big green monster, this is about teenage boys who are already big monsters. Now, I can't guarantee that Impact is a teenage boy. He certainly has the attitude of a young adult. That is for sure. But anyways, enough of that. Let's talk about this beautiful art. Let's look at this right here. Is this not sexy? If you were a 12-year-old boy, would you not be compelled to pick up this beautiful issue? This is from January of 1995. The plot is by Marc Silvestri and Mike Heisler. The pencils are by Joe Benitez, and I actually really like Joe Benitez's art. It's kind of this, I always refer to this kind of style as being a blend between the best of American and the best of Japanese manga. And the art is by Joe Benitez, and I really like Joe Benitez's art. And I actually do think that when you're doing books about teenagers, there is an art style that even goes more closer to the Japanese manga style that I really like. But we'll talk about that in future installments of these comic book reviews. Right now, I want to talk about this, because basically what happens is our hot little friend Velocity here, she wakes up from a bad dream. She goes to get herself a glass of milk, and there's Cece, the robotic kitty. He doesn't drink milk like a real cat, but he sure can pour it for her. Well, so she's like, wondering, I wish I knew everyone else here that good. Sometimes I feel like I just walked into the last 5 minutes of a movie, and nobody has the time to tell me what's going on. And Cece's like, really? I know where you can find out everything you want. So Cece takes Velocity to this room, a little hologram of her sitting there. This is the Cyberforce's personal library annex where you can look up everyone. So basically, they look up Cyblade to find out her story, and it goes all the way back to when she was a little girl with her father, Patrick Thibault, and her brother, Michel Thibault. So her father, you know, is very wealthy, you know, kind of got this whole James Bond sort of vibe with Namor's haircut. I love the pencil-thin mustache. You know, obviously a ladies' man, throws gala parties for his daughter, very expensive, even can afford to hire a clown on a unicycle juggling butcher knives. Pretty cool. So, you know, now she's in, you know, I think this would be like maybe like 7th or 8th grade, I'm guessing. It's kind of hard to tell because they draw her with a full-grown woman's head on a little girl's body. And so that kind of throws me off. And that is the one thing in this comic that is throwing me off. And but we'll get into that here as we go. So basically she's talking about all the awesome parties that Daddy throws for her because he misses her so much. And every year the parties get better. And you can all come to the parties. And, oh, I have to go because my drivers are here. And, well, some bad guys show up and take them out. 1 bullet, 2 hits. Boom, done. This looks like Zorro. And it does not make me want to buy Cyberforce Origins #2 Striker. Because Zorro, yeah. Anyway, so these bad guys show up and they want to kidnap her essentially, but she uses her Cyblade powers, like this is her first time using her powers, and basically, you know, causes, you know, I think she causes this dude to explode. I'm not 100% positive, I think so. But she can't figure it out. The other 2 run away like little chickens. And then Daddy, you know, 6 days later, hires this chick to train her. And her name is Jocelyn. And she's there to teach, but she insists that Dominique call her sensei. And, you know, we get these great training shots. This is not the Xavier Mansion, even though you might think it is. We are actually in a European country similar to France. The name of this country is... Where did she grow up? Chalene. They grew up in Chalene with her brother Michel. And so very French. She's getting trained very well here. More training, really teaching her. She's really coming up in the game really well. The brother notices, you know, like, oh man, my sister's like becoming a more bigger badass than me. This shot right here does not make any sense. Like, she's a midget? And like, how old? Like, I figure she's like 12 years old in this picture, though her face is not 12 years old. Here she's 12. And here she's 12. Here she's 26. Here she's 26, but with a 12-year-old body. And so this kind of threw me off, this weird quasi-Lebesian sort of a look going on there. So basically, like, Daddy's mad because Dominique, that's Cyblade's real name, she's standing up to Daddy and telling him, you know, don't you realize how difficult this is for me to correct the mistakes that you have made in my life? Dominique, I apologize, my dear. I'll leave you and Jocelyn to your studies. And so then, but Daddy's pissed. I did not bring you here to teach my daughter to defy me, to turn her back on her family. Michel will be accompanying me on business outing in the morning. You'll have the chance then to say your farewells. But I do not expect to see you here when I return. So, you know, like, Dominique Cyblade is super sad that Jocelyn, the sensei, is been kicked out, basically. But, you know, unfortunately, it turns out that, like, the guards show back up the next day, and Daddy and brother have been killed in a terrible explosion. And so now little Dominique is all alone, but luckily she has, you know, Jocelyn there to help her overcome the obstacles of losing her father and her brother in a terrible explosion. So then we basically, 75 miles west of the Azores, 4 years later, okay? So now, like, we're going from, you know, like, 12-year-old kid. So now she's 16, right? And, like, they come, they get on this boat, and these bad guys have these people, you know, like, hijacked and stuff, right? Or kidnapped, and boom. That's a midget. That is, like, the size of, like, an 8-year-old. Not a 16-year-old girl. An 8-year-old. She has the breasts of a, you know, a grown woman, but she's a midget. Like, clearly, this is a midget. It's Diamond Lil. And ask Fabulous Moolah about that. That's Diamond Lil. So, they jump on the boat. And now all of a sudden she's like normal sized again. And they go, you know, below down to the lower decks. And there's this guy here who's like being protected by these guys. And, you know, they're like, let's check the door, you know, knock, knock, knock. Ominous number 13. Mm-hmm. Sensei jumps in there and basically like kills all these guys. And the dude they're protecting, about time. I was wondering when Cyberdata would send someone. Do you still have the chip we implanted inside you? Of course. Excellent. She stabs him. But I don't understand. I was loyal. Your incompetence nearly allowed those raiders to seize this chip. And had Cyberdata's involvement in this affair become public, it could have proven disastrous. Your services, loyal or otherwise, are no longer desired. And so then, you know, she comes back up onto the top deck. And Dominique's just like, well, what happened? It's like, oh, well, unfortunately, the businessman we were hired to protect has already been killed by these terrorists. We need to escape. The international authorities will arrive shortly to attend to the other passengers. So they take a life raft and they dip out. Are you sure this is the right thing to do? Boom! The boat explodes. All those people killed. If only we could have saved them. And you know it was Jocelyn, the sensei, who did it. Anyways, at the Sorbonne in Paris, that's where she's now studying. And I'm not sure if she's the same age or if she's older now. I would assume maybe older because here she's like 16. And here I think she's in college now. So what do we do? And then this is like this big, long conversation about molecular biology. And it's too wordy, way too wordy. But it's basically a device to show that Cyblade isn't only sexy and doesn't only have awesome mutant powers. She's also super smart. So you're talking, you know, like the typical chick, Kathleen Kennedy, would be in love with this comic book because she's sexy and she's smart and she's badass. And you get all of the above. And then, you know, like this Englishman tries to hit on her in the hallway and she kicks his ass. Again, a Kathleen Kennedy moment that's totally awesome. And then, you know, like Madame Jocelyn requests your attention. So this dude shows up out of nowhere with a pocket protector, but he's apparently working with the bad guys or the fake good guys. So 3 hours later, they're in a jet plane. What's our mission this time, Sensei? We have no mission. Our previous contractor was impressed with your efforts, and he wishes to meet you. Even though we failed? Oh, I'm not doing this in a French voice. Excuse me. Even though we failed? Where will we be going? Why do we need an armored escort? So many questions. Prick. So, like, you know, she touches her on the back of the neck here. You see Sensei's hand touches her on the back of the neck. It will be much easier. Oh, no. It will be much easier for all of us without your naive curiosity. So, basically, she passes out. Dr. Herzog has succeeded again. So now we jump forward in time, and she's bandaged up, and she's basically had the chip implanted in her brain, but they're pretending that it was, oh, you collapsed on the, oh, I get my accents confused. You collapsed on the plane, Dominique. It appears you were afflicted with a near-fatal brain tumor. Fortunately, our employer's medical specialists were able to save you. You're going to be just fine after a few days' rest. So, I've never seen anyone, like, is this what they do with sexy chicks in the hospital? They strip them down and just leave them like that? Usually you got a gown on or something, but I guess not. That's fine with me. And so here, you know, so you got to understand, like, we're in the past. This is taking place before Cyberforce existed. Back when everybody in Cyberforce was working for the Shocks. So here we have Stryker asking about it, and here we have Killjoy, the crazy cybernetic pirate chick who I talked about in previous Marc Silvestri Appreciation Day videos. Boom! So here we go. Like, this is Cyblade now, revealed, finally, and she's got the mask on. And I think they realized pretty quick we don't need that mask. But this is pretty cool. So basically, you know, this kind of like tells, you know, about how she's been brainwashed because of the chip. And so whatever events she's actually participated in, she doesn't remember because they're implanting fake memories that don't show the terror that she's caused. I'll give you, you know, if my suspicions are correct, you were made to remember events that never happened and to forget those that did. To forget not only your role in what must certainly be crimes of the most heinous order, but also that of Cyberdata. So this is actually kind of interesting, you know. I talked in the last video about Cyberforce, how you should skip Cyberforce number 0, and then of course, the next comic I pick up explicitly references Cyberforce number 0. So give me 1 second, I'm gonna go grab that real quick. Boom. Okay, so let's talk about this. Laying it on a little thick, aren't you, Dr. Corbin? Besides, I'd already agreed to meet you tonight. Okay, so check it out. This was in Cyberforce 0. They agreed to meet. Let me show you where that happened at. Right here. Cyblade, a word with you. And you notice, like, in the window above, someone is watching. I wonder what Corbin could be saying to Cyblade. But here it's, you know, different. Corbin with Cyblade. Don't make yourself a liability, Doctor. Okay, so you are going to end up having to pick up Cyberforce 0. Luckily, this is only going to cost you 50 cents or $1 in the back issue bins at your local comic shop. If it costs more than that, go to another comic shop. Okay, so, you know, it shows that here's the evil Kamada, who basically is just manipulating every mutant and cybernetic being that he can find. Let's just say I wanted to be sure that you didn't selectively forget our talk last week, and I've come across another bit of information that I wanted to give you alone. The building at this address contains something that I believe will be of great consequence to you, and this device will guide you straight to what you're looking for. Okay, I'll check it out when I have a chance. Don't wait too long. So he's watching. She goes to check it out, and it turns out it's her brother in stasis, still alive, years later, and now he's full grown. It's like, oh, you seem genuinely surprised. What, Sensei? So here Jocelyn reveals her true nature as a villain. They get in this awesome fight with this beautiful artwork. And she's kicking her butt because it's like, I'm the teacher, you're the pupil. And Cyblade's like, oh, I don't think so. You don't have my abilities, bitch. You little fool, you've seen with your own eyes how cyberdata literally rebuilds its warriors from the bone outward. Yet it never occurred to you that I might benefit from their gifts. So sure enough, like now she's got like some throwing star power that causes fire. And so these fire stars basically light the joint on fire. And right as Michael wakes up from stasis, Dominique, no, no. So, you know, then Jocelyn like basically clicks the detonator button and blows the whole friggin' building all the way up. You should never have betrayed cyberdata, Dominique. Also, Cyberforce 0, again, mentioned again. So you're gonna have to pick this up, even though I said you didn't need it. That was a lie in the last video. It turns out you're gonna need to read this. So then, boom, entry complete. Complete? What happened? Did she survive the explosion? And Cece's like, well, of course she survived, silly. She's still here, remember? All right, but why did the computer end the story? Because afterwards, Cyblade's story became part of the Cyberforce entry, just like you and me. So, that's this story. And then you have a little epilogue where it turns out that Michel, it looks like, is still being kept alive by these dirty buggers. And they wake him up. Dominique betrayed me. Murdered father. Find Dominique. Kill Dominique. End. So I want to just go ahead and again, you know, here we have a Ripclaw statue by Claiborne Moore. Claiborne Moore does a lot of great artwork. Don't confuse him with social justice warrior B. Clay Moore, who is on Twitter and is always haranguing and insulting other creators and fans. This is Claiborne Moore, a great sculptor, not B. Clay Moore, a hack fraud. So, Ripclaw miniseries. We're going to get into that too. Okay. So, Cyblade #1, beautiful artwork by Joe Benitez. He did amazing, amazing art in this comic book. I couldn't be happier with it. I couldn't have been happier with the story that was told in this. It told her complete origin, which was super fun, and it's sexy art. I mean, great coloring. This is everything a comic book is supposed to be. Everything a comic book is supposed to be. And this is one of those ones from the early 90s that undoubtedly would move the needle. And it did. anything with Cyblade in it moved the needle. And we're going to talk more about this character very soon in another video here on Marc Silvestri Appreciation Week. So what I want to know from you, beautiful people out there, have you read this comic? Tell me in the comments below. Did you like this comic? Tell me in the comments below. Did this video make you want to buy this comic? Does this comic look better than other comics you're seeing come out today? God, look at it. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I just want to flip through it again because it's gorgeous. Look at that. Look at the color. Isn't that great? Isn't that dynamic? Just pops right out at you and makes you want to read more. Is that sexy? Tell me in the comments. I think it is. I don't necessarily care for this whole like strong feminist Lebesian sort of a vibe here. But as soon as she gets that mask off, she turns back into a super sexy chick. And I love Velocity. I can do anything with Velocity. I can do anything with talking robot cats. They make me happy. They make me totally happy. I love the Namor haircut. I love it all. Look at how sexy she looks there, and she's just a hologram, right? And he draws kids so cute, too. I like that, too. So, Joe Benitez, you did a great job drawing this 25 years ago, back in January of '95. And I appreciate it, my friend. I appreciate all the work you've done. I appreciate all of you out there who have taken the time to watch this video. So, I'm not going to ramble on anymore. I just want you to tell me, who is your favorite sexy image girl from the 1990s in the comments below? Your most favorite, if you could only have one sexy image superheroine, who would it be? Honestly, I think if I had to pick, I'd probably pick Velocity. She would probably be my favorite. Anyway, that's it for this video. Give me a like if you would be kind enough. Feel free to subscribe, hit the ding dong for notifications, and we'll be back. I'll be back in particular, me, Big Legit, to tell you more about totally awesome comic books as we continue to try to move the needle in the comic industry once again and save it from itself. Appreciate everything, guys. Thanks so much. More testosterone overload coming up. Peace.